looks than swift.
Thank you so much for joining us on yet another day of Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Match Days. We're building up to yet another game, this time from Kolkata. On the one hand, you have Pakistan. Won their first 2 games, lost the next 4. On the other hand, you have Bangladesh. Won their first game, then lost 5 after that. Both these teams really looking for points. One looking to play for a place in the playoffs, in the semi-finals. The other looking for a place in the Champions Trophy 2025. So much to talk about. And when you talk about Pakistan and Bangladesh, how can drama not be far behind? But we've not got drama in the studio. We've got people who are to the point in the studio. Steve Harmison joining us in the studio. Urooj Mumtaz joining us from Pakistan as well. Good to see the two of you. Steve, it would be the most Pakistan of things to now win 2, lose 4, win, and make their way to the semi-final.
Yeah, it is. Where all the stuff that's gone off the field overnight, everything that's gone on the field over the course of the last 4 games, you wouldn't put past Pakistan going, beating Bangladesh today, beating New Zealand, dragging them closer to them towards the sort of semi-finals, and having a shootout against England, and thinking if you win against England, you get to the semi-final. And if you do that, and Pakistan they have to think this way. If they can win them 3 games, then all of a sudden you go, won the last 3 games, going into the knockout stage, nobody would want to play Pakistan. So it's just a World Cup wouldn't be the same without Pakistan playing like this or being like this.
Urooj, they've done it so many times in the past. This is that Pakistan phase that you look forward to.
Well, it's typical Pakistan, isn't it? It's a drama on the field that always unfolds towards the back end of the tournament where everyone's written them off. And when they're done and dusted almost, they come out and sort of claw their way back in the tournament. And like Steve just said, then nobody wants to play them because they look such a dangerous side. But it's, again, a very 3 important games now, which I think Pakistan need to look at and should blur out all the other drama happening outside. Because that sound and then that drama becomes even much more louder if the results don't go Pakistan's way. So it's very difficult and it's easier said than done. But I think 3 important games, and that's what the 15 members should focus on.
And on the other hand, Steve, you've got Bangladesh. If one had to give drama a gold medal, Pakistan. If one had to give drama a silver medal, Bangladesh.
You would, yeah. You go Bangladesh silver medal because the West Indies aren't here. That's just the way Bangladesh have gone so far. Their talisman, Shakib Al Hasan, hasn't really performed the way he would like, and he has done in the previous 17 years for Bangladesh. Mahmudullah is the only one that's really scored any runs for Bangladesh, but he's been batting all the way down at number 7. And they've struggled. Both teams have struggled to take power play wickets, but at least Pakistan have dragged it back and got wickets in the middle and wickets at the end, where Bangladesh have really had a struggle. I think their leading wicket taker is 8, and that tells you why they're languishing lower at the bottom end of the World Cup table.
Urooj, in all your time as captain of Pakistan, when there is so much noise coming out of a team, there is, one is playing in one position the other day, the other one is playing on a different position the other day. What does that tell you about the vibe inside a team?
Listen, to be a Pakistan follower, a supporter or a player, you're on an emotional roller coaster all the time. So for us, it's almost become part of our culture. It's almost an unmanned roller coaster, which is on its own, which is really unfortunate in terms of a culture and a system, because having all of that drama and then still being able to be the Pakistan that the world is almost like they're so unpredictable, we don't want to play them because you don't know what's going to show up. So had we got structures and sort of systems in place and a professional setup, imagine what could have been the case. So it's difficult, but and sad to say that because we're almost in that culture, it becomes such a norm that it's easier to sort of block it out because it's part and parcel of everyday proceedings, again, which is unfortunate and shouldn't be the case, but it is.
Steve, what just Urooj said right now, if I'm on a keyboard right now, Control P, change Pakistan to Bangladesh, same thing applies? I
think it does, same thing applies. I think it's outside influences coming into, putting pressure on the group, and the minute the group loses, that makes it, magnifies it.
When you heard of that entire Tamim episode that was happening, playing out before the World Cup, were you like, Tamim?
Yeah.
Seriously? Asking him to play 3?
I couldn't believe that when I seen that, but that's just the nature of the beast in that part of the world. It it does come with its controversy. It comes with when somebody's in charge at the top, and then there's a lot of people go with that person, and then there's people that sort of throw stones into that group and tries to unsettle it, and then all of a sudden it changes over, then the other group, and they start sort of in-house fighting.
Yeah.
Pakistan's found that with the different board regimes changing over. Mickey Arthur going, then Mickey Arthur coming back, and then Mickey Arthur
online appointment.
Exactly and you've got he's getting labelled with not fully committed because he's still at Derbyshire, and then you've got the Inzamam stuff overnight, which doesn't help the team when the team's losing. If the team's winning, that's just little background noise. I mean, it's like an opera concert, it's like a rock concert at the minute because of the noise that's being made towards the Pakistan team. Because unfortunately, they're just not winning enough cricket matches to contend at the top.
Urooj, here's the funny part. We are already, I think, about 7-8 minutes into the show. We haven't spoken about the players. We're only speaking about everything that's happening around the players. I can't help but think about what's happening in Pakistan right now. If I am the coach of Pakistan, I'm going to be saying thank you so much for this, because now it's so easy for me to get these boys going and really go for that cause.
It's the way you look at it, right? I mean, you almost can look at this as a challenge, and it's something that almost spurs you on and motivates you even further, because you want to go out and prove your own wrong, essentially, because the fight is within the board. The organizers or the professionals within the board are fighting with their own players, and I've always said this: players are the asset because of which any board exists. So I think it's almost sometimes in our part of the world, it's sort of motivates you even more. The fire, you fuel the fire even more, and that's why Pakistan, in extraordinary circumstances, when the chips are down, come out and sort of hit you even harder. And that's probably the only one thing the Pakistan players can do at the moment. They can show the world, show their own people what they're made of, why they were ranked to where they were, why the results were coming in their favor not so long ago. What Babar Azam is made of, Shaheen Shah Afridi, the quality that he brings. In fact, we've got quite a few match winners, so it's the perfect occasion to shun the silence, really.
Yeah, Steve has been a football coach for 4 years as well, Steve. You're always looking at how I can egg my players on.
Absolutely.
If from 80, how do I get 100 out of them? That 20 generally comes from something like this?
Yeah, absolutely. And the only person that really suffers in this will be the captain.
Yeah.
Because Babar Azam,
facing the media all the time.
He's facing the media all the time. He's constantly being questioned. The rest can come together and try and get behind the captain. The minute the in-house fighting started, the minute there was a few disappointment results, Babar Azam, and then obviously all the field stuff with Inzamam coming, Babar Azam must be thinking, well, that's me not out of a job, but they're going to be questioning my place as soon as this World Cup's finished. Now, if you're talking about football coach, if you're talking about Mickey Arthur's, the Grant Grant Bradburn, you go into that dressing room and you flip it over and you go, you know what, this guy in Babar Azam has played so well for us in the last 12, 18, 24 months.
Yeah.
The reason why we are high ranked because of he's helped us. Now we owe him performances because this is business time.
Yeah.
A lot of question marks on his head, a lot of question marks on his captaincy. Let's get behind them, and we've got 3 games to keep our World Cup going. And that's the way I would have gone from a coach's point of view, behind the scenes in the dressing room last night, in a team meeting, getting myself ready for Bangladesh today.
Turn the negative into a positive and use it to your, of course, to full effect. Toss has happened in Kolkata. Bangladesh has won the toss. They have elected to bat first, not surprisingly, given that it's hot conditions over there, so elected to bat first. We'll get to that, guys, in just a bit. But we've also we're 30 games in to that league stage. Whew, 30 games in. It's been a long tournament. So we thought, why not look back at the 30 games, Urooj and Steve, and just get a few of your favorite innings or performances. I'm going to start first with best individual batting performance for you. Steve, which would that be? And why?
When I worked on this, I was like, there's 3 choices. I had Glenn Maxwell, his 100 off 53 balls.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Rohit Sharma, his 100 against Afghanistan of 84 balls. It was fantastic. But the one I went for was David Warner, 163, 124 balls against Pakistan, against this attack.
Yeah.
Shaheen Shah Afridi, Haris Rauf, I think Hassan Ali was playing that day. I thought it was a brilliant innings by David Warner, a one that he needed, and it's a one that kick-started Australia and propelled them, turned their fortunes. And it's an innings that Babar Azam could do with something like that today.
Exemplifies David Warner as well, Steve, that here's a guy who starts the tournament in slow fashion, but knows how to play himself into form and then just catch it and move forward from there.
Yeah, the beauty about the good and the great, and for me the great, when chips are down, they find a way to stay alive and then capitalise and score runs. And I think that's what he's done throughout his career, David Warner. He's got himself in a position, and in that innings, he didn't find it easy at the start. And then once he got going, he loves batting in India. He cashed in and he utilised 360 all the way around the ground. He was picking up, he was like pick up pulls, sweep shots. Yeah. It was a masterful innings.
He's been busy making TikTok videos as well.
Yes, he's very good. He's very good at that as well. He's also very good at that. He seems to get louder when he scores runs. Yeah. So he hasn't been that loud. He hasn't been that loud for a couple of years. So he's been saving all these videos up. But he's a wonderful player. Yeah. He's brilliant for the game. When he's playing well, he's in everybody's face. Yeah. And he's great. He's great for me. He's great for the game. Gets close to the line sometimes. Don't mind that. But that innings was a special one.
Best bowling performance?
Again, I went for there was three. I had Adam Zampa against Pakistan, Shaheen Shah Afridi against Australia. But we've seen a lot of people get back end wickets. A lot of people get 8 wickets at the death. But for me, the best bowling performance, in my opinion, was Mohammad Shami. Could have gone with Bumrah in the game against England, but I went with Shami because I thought his 4 wickets, at the top end, power play wickets, I thought they were brilliant.
It just goes to show that if your seam position is so good, you could come back after, say, 5 games, 5 months, but you'll find it very quickly and start troubling batsmen.
Yeah, I look at Mohammad Shami a little bit like Haris Rauf. That they're the most underrated bowlers in the game because Mohammad Shami is in the shadow of Jasprit Bumrah because everybody wants to talk about Jasprit Bumrah, and Haris Rauf is in the shadow of Shaheen Shah Afridi because everybody wants to talk about Afridi. So I think the two bowlers are very, very, very good bowlers. But I think for me, Mohammad Shami around the world is arguably one of the best seam bowlers in world cricket.
And finally, with you, Steve, slightly left field pick or surprising pick that surprised you so far?
Again, I had Baz de Leede against Pakistan. He got 4 wickets. Henrik Klaassen, you've got to remember this was early in the tournament. Henrik Klaassen, the 100 he got was not expected because he came into the tournament with a bit of form. But the one for me is, when I say it now, it's not left field because Rachin Ravindra has had a brilliant tournament. But Rachin Ravindra came into the tournament as a replacement for Kane Williamson. In the first game, he got 123 off 89 balls against England. So for me, that's left field because it was the very first game of the tournament, and that wasn't expected. So for me, the left field performance of the tournament was in the very first game by somebody who was playing his first World Cup game, and he batted beautifully, and he's gone on to bat brilliantly since, and that was Rachin Ravindra.
Would I be right in terming him as the modern day Kane Williamson? A lot more aggression from him as opposed to what you would see from Kane.
He's got a long way to go to get anywhere near where Kane's at, but he's got a good game around the ground. His left arm spin in this part of the world helps balance the sides out, so he's always going to get a game over here. And I think that his manipulation of the sort of strike is brilliant. To bat at number 3 or bat at number 4. He works the ball into gaps very, very well, but he also has got a power game. He can also hit the ball through the field or over the field. So he's I first seen him a couple of years ago when Pakistan played New Zealand in a Test series. I think he made his debut. I came into the series. He batted at number 7 and bowled spin. And ever since the first time I seen him, I thought, oh, this kid is going to be a proper player. Signed for my club at Durham for 1 game. Got a double 100. That's all he played. one game, got a double 100. So
best signing ever.
Best signing. Good. For me, that was a special innings for somebody who hadn't played any World Cup cricket. Perfect. That's a good left field pick.
Steve, thank you so much for that. Urooj, let's start with you. Best individual batting performance after 30 games in the World Cup.
Yeah, I'll have to make this 2-0 Australia. I'll have to pick Travis Head, David Warner's batting partner. Impeccable. The way he came off a hand injury, flies straight into India, gets picked to open with Warner, where Mitch Marsh on the previous game had scored a big 100 against Pakistan. But the number of deliveries in a high-scoring game, where he get 109 of 67 to get Australia to 388, which were only 5 short in the end. It's not easy, especially when you come in a spot where the previous batter has already scored 100 in that position. So much up for grabs in terms of 2 important points playing at Dharamshala. I thought Travis Head was exceptional. He's transformed in leaps and bounds. And I think that opening spot, even though Marsh had scored 100 with David Warner up there, he was so destructive and very important in scoring that mammoth 388.
Also
so for me, Travis Head.
Sorry, Urooj, also exemplifies what that modern day cricketer talks about, right? You often hear modern day cricketers saying, I back my game and I back myself to play the way I play.
See, it's very important to evolve with the game evolving itself. You can't be stuck in an old methodology of playing and be consistent, because the game has evolved and you have to evolve with times. And Travis Head is a prime example of that. Even you look at players who've played for a previous decade and you see them evolving the game because they need to fit in, because that's where the game has gone. He's exemplified the game, the range of shots, and obviously the intent and the aggression that he shows, irrespective. And all of that comes from the fact that you have the confidence to back your game. And most of the times that pays off. So I thought he was brilliant.
Urooj, best bowling performance for you?
I'll have to agree with Steve there. There's so many picks that you can go with. Jasprit Bumrah is always in context when you talk about impeccable control of length. Kuldeep Yadav, I thought as well, was brilliant. Those two definitely come to your mind immediately, but I'll have to go with Mohammad Shami for a couple of reasons. I mean, important game in terms of England, and England again down and out with the quality of batting that they have. Defending champions, for Mohammad Shami to pick up big wickets, Bairstow and Ben Stokes. The setup to Stokes, I think, was a highlight of that. A 10-ball duck that he eventually scored. To bowl just short of good length, get the ball to seaman and then nip away, then pull it even shorter, then have one full, and then the one that nipped back into the left-hander. And I completely agree with what Steve has said. He's probably one of the best in the world, but doesn't get spoken about enough, because he's probably got the greatest in the current age in his team, who does the destructive approach with the ball up front. So, and because the way India is looking at that combination with Shardul Thakur at 8, because of that batting ability that he has, Mohammad Shami had to sit out for the first games to pick up 5 in the first one and the 4 against England. And I think just the control that he showed with the ball against England, for me, that was probably the best bowling that we've seen so far.
And finally, Urooj, that one performance for you that sort of surprised you or a bit left field so far in this World Cup?
Yeah, from me, left field would have meant either debuts or inexperience. And I thought for me, there was a few. Rachin Ravindra again, as Steve has picked him, he has obviously outshone quite a few to pick up that opening spot. But for me, it would have to be the left arm wrist spin from Noor Ahmed. Again, for a couple of reasons. Inspired selection on a Chennai surface where you would have imagined the spin would have played a big role to knock out Pakistan for 282, where they looked like maybe they were 20 short. And the batters that he picked up, he broke the opening partnership where Abdullah Shafiq was looking good at about 58. Then he picked up Babar Azam, and then he picked up Mohammad Rizwan. For an 18-year-old to play his first World Cup game, knowing that they've picked him because the surface will favor spin, and looking at 10 overs to get out of him. And I think he is the one who changed the momentum for Pakistan with the bat. So for him, I think he was extraordinary. And also because Afghanistan won that game, because in the end, Pakistan were probably runs short. So Noor Ahmed with his 3 wickets against Pakistan.
Thank you so much for that, Urooj. Just a reminder again, toss has happened in Kolkata. Bangladesh has won the toss. They have decided to bat first. Let's put out the teams for you. First up, Pakistan. Urooj, 2 changes in that team. We always knew the changes were going to happen in that 11. Let's just confirm the changes for you once again. And Fakhar Zaman has come in for Imam-ul Haq. We had referred to this yesterday in building up to the game. And the other one is also Salman Ali Agha coming in for Mohammad Nawaz.
Yeah, I think both were on the cards. Like you're saying, we discussed these yesterday. Imam-ul Haq again has been short of runs. He's averaging below 20, hasn't been able to impact at all. In fact, Abdullah Shafiq with Fakhar Zaman, I would imagine the brief to Fakhar Zaman would be play your natural game, in which Pakistan will eventually make use of the power play, because that's that the intent and the flow of the bat that Fakhar has comes to him naturally. The other one is Salman Ali Agha because of Mohammad Nawaz. Salman Ali can bowl decent off spin. He's a proper middle order bat. So I think that is a good one. He was sitting on the bench. He had a few good outings during the Asia Cup as well. But because of the combination and Pakistan favouring left arm spin, he wasn't getting a go. So I think that is really good, provides batting depth. And he's going to be decent with the ball. I think with Iftikhar, they'll probably bowl a chunk of the 10 overs. Shadab obviously suffered the concussion, so Osama Mir stays in. So that looks a really good, balanced batting side with variety in bowling as well.
Yeah, just talking about that three-pace attack that you've got. Now, you've got Wasim Jr. there, coming in place of Hassan Ali, of course, who's they're saying is not fit, so he's not part of the 11. I'm just thinking in terms of complementing, because you spoke about Haris Rauf. And when Hassan Ali was bowling along with Shaheen Shah Afridi, they just felt like that potency was not there, even though sometimes he was getting more wickets. And so you're getting Haris Rauf a little bit early into this game. The ideal time to put in a Haris Rauf would possibly be 10 to 20, second half of 10 to 20, then start getting him in and putting the squeeze on?
Yeah, you want him to be bowling in that middle period. I agree with that. I've had the same opinion with England. I wouldn't mind seeing him like Mark Wood open a bowl the first 2 overs. Haris Rauf, he catches people on the crease. And just bowl 2 overs at the start, run up, bowl as quick as you can, bowl at the top of the stumps, and see if you can nip one through somebody, a batter who's not quite in tune with his movements. If he's not quite getting forward, not quite going back, you might concede a boundary, but for me, you might get a wicket. And if you get a power play wicket early in the piece, and then you've got the left arm option in Shaheen Shah Afridi, then all of a sudden, I would gamble 2 overs at the start.
Maximum?
With Haris Rauf. 2 overs, 3 overs at the start if he gets wickets. Then he's got a chunk in the middle. Then he's got a chunk just before the end. I think that's the way I would use Haris Rauf. Wasim, he bowled well the other night. He just struggled with his body. He came in after being out for a long time. Hassan Ali is a good bowler, an experienced bowler at the top. But I like Salman coming in because with this wicket, it's probably not going to be a Pune where you're going to be 320, 350. It's going to be a low-scoring event. And I think just giving you that little bit more of a comfort blanket of an extra batter at number 7, I think that might just get 20 or 30 more runs. That might be the difference in the game.
Urooj, is that the phase they really need to concentrate on? Because if we show you some numbers right now, power play especially, Pakistan's bowling in the power play, ranked 10th in this World Cup in terms of average, in terms of economy. First 10, I mean, their average is 65, economy is 6.53, wickets only 6. So is that where you really need to make inroads, and then the rest follows after that?
And that's always been Pakistan's strength. Pakistan has been able to dent the game and pick up wickets while keeping the runs down in that first power play with the ball. And Shaheen Shah Afridi has been a huge instrumental factor in that. Why it hasn't gone their way is obviously twofold. Obviously, they've missed Naseem Shah, who's been the other bowler from the other end, and I feel Hassan Ali has still done a fairly decent job. It's Shaheen Shah Afridi who's probably struggled, and because of that, Haris Rauf also ends up bowling the back end of the 2 overs within the power play where he's gone for runs. Now, Shaheen Shah Afridi, when we've spoken this at this about for length, that Shaheen Shah Afridi has been trying to search for that swing with that angle just from outside off stump and trying to land it within the stumps to pick up the LBWs and the bowls. The swing just hasn't been there. And when it has, he started from middle and leg, and it's almost finished at leg stump or just outside. And the swing hasn't been for delayed period of times either. And it's taken Shaheen Shah Afridi quite a while to pull the length back, which has been the effective length in India so far. That 6 to 8 meter good length mark, or 6 to 7 to begin with, and then you pull it back. And he did that against South Africa, and he looked in better rhythm. But it's not what comes to naturally, and I just feel that he's taken a little bit more time adapting to that length. And at times, both Haris and Shaheen, with the new ball, have been at fault of providing too much width outside the off stump as well, where they've been hit for runs. So those are the couple of things which obviously reflect into those numbers. And the back end, Haris and Shaheen both have been exceptional with their change-ups. But Pakistan need to start denting the game with the bat and ball both earlier on in order to impact the results in their favour.
Steve, as a former fast bowler, when there's no pace on offer, or rather no swing on offer, there's hardly any movement on offer, at least in that first 10. When you talk about the back 40, then your cutters come in, then your slow ones come in, your variations and so on come in. But what are you looking at then? Is it just your line and length? I keep on trying going for that one sweet spot to trouble the batsman? Yeah,
you try. Different batters play it different ways. Because if you're talking about someone like myself, Shaheen Shah Afridi, tall man, he struggled to hold a good length because his natural game is the swing.
Yeah.
He's tried to swing, it's not swung. And I think that's been his biggest problem, where it's holding that good length in and around that off stump. And what he hasn't been able to do, which I'm surprised at because he's skill level, he hasn't been able to move the batter around the crease. So he hasn't been able to get the batter to go onto off stump or getting closer off stump by bowling that channel, top of the stumps, just outside off stump, and dragging the batter across where he can then bring the ball back or try and bowl that little bit straighter. What he's tried to do is he's tried to search for it. He's either been too full or too short.
Yeah.
He's not been in that in-between length. And what that in-between length does, it moves batters across the crease, because that in-between length is a good length where the likelihood is it's either a dot ball or it's a defensive shot which is pushed into the ring, which is the worst case scenario, it's a single.
Yeah.
But what it's doing is it's gradually building pressure. In the power play, if you get dot balls, you build pressure, you get wickets. You look at why we picked Mohammad Shami, Jasprit Bumrah against England, because they're relentless at hitting top of the stumps, building pressure, and saying to the batter, well, you're not scoring. This is your chance to score, so come at me and have a score. I think it's been easy for the opposition to score against Pakistan's power play bowling, because they've never been able to control and hold that good length, that 5.5, 6 metre length, top of the stumps, and really sort of move the batter around. And that's a surprise from somebody the skill level of Shaheen Shah Afridi.
Urooj, of course, we're talking about the pace bowlers, but so much about Pakistan's bowling attack is also dependent on what the spinners do. I mean, you could create that pressure, but then the spinners have to take that forward. Given the spin attack that you have today, what can we expect from them?
Again, and that because of those numbers that you just talk about in the power play, that pressure comes on to anyways a relatively weak spin bowling attack that Pakistan walked into with this World Cup, with Shadab struggling not just from now, we saw it throughout the Asia Cup. He obviously wasn't able to land consistent good deliveries to amount for that pressure. There were either too many full tosses or just fuller length deliveries and too many drag downs eventually when he did try to adjust length. Nawaz never a big turner of the ball. He's not a big wicket taker, but what his job was obviously of that holding role to provide consistent pressure. He wasn't able to do that. And Iftikhar out of the blue became almost a 10 over bowler because of what he was able to do. So Pakistan does have struggles with a front line spin bowler that is missing, essentially a Zampa, a Kuldeep Yadav, even a Shakib Ul Hasan, if you put it that way, Rashid Khan, Adil Rashid. We don't have that. And that's why the bowling up front, the spinners can't back it up with good bowling. And that will be key today. We're playing Salman, Iftikhar, Osama Mir. I think Osama Mir will again be key. I thought he bowled much better during the South Africa game. I think he will have to lead the spin bowling attack. Obviously very new and fresh and inexperienced, but I thought he showed better control versus South Africa.
On the other hand, let's talk about Bangladesh's batting. They are batting first, and batting woes would be an understatement to describe their campaign in the World Cup so far. Just not got going with the bat is Bangladesh. We'll show you a couple of numbers as well, Steve. If those were poor power play numbers for Pakistan with the ball, take a look at these numbers with the bat. Average 24.16, ranked 8th. Run rate 4.42. In this day and age, ranked last. 50 plus stands only 5. And boundaries just 136, so clearly nothing really working for them.
No, nothing's working for them. Nothing's working for them across the board, really. But their power play numbers are poor. They started quite well. Lytton Das, they started in the first couple of games. They were very, very aggressive.
Yeah.
And it just seemed as though they just, as the games went on, there was a different mistake.
Yeah.
And then a different mistake. So there were. The batter would be, he would play a rash shot. He would make a poor shot selection, go at a ball that wasn't there. And when you do that, it's like the confidence factor just keeps eating away out of your game. And I think that's systematic about the whole top six of Bangladesh. Every game they've played, there's been a different type of mistake, which has added pressure and which has made it harder and harder for batters to get confidence and just build an innings. And I think that it's like
different batting order as well.
Yeah, the batting order as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's like when you play in England, in the first class system in England, you play 16 first class 4-day matches, and you can see if a player is low in confidence, he'll go from 100 first game, and by the time the 16th game comes, he's had 4 ducks in a row because he's gone 100, 70, 60, 50. It just seems as though there's just added pressure on every time they go out to bat. and they don't seem to be able to combat that. They don't seem to be able to just ride the little wave where they'd find a way of getting through 10 overs, hanging around and try and put pressure on the bowlers that way. It seems to be 4 or 5 dot balls, big shot, and out they go.
Urooj, also, if you take a look at a number of their dismissals in the World Cup so far, close to 80% of their dismissals have come courtesy of pacers. So I'm guessing Shaheen Shah Afridi, Haris Rao, Wasim Jr. would be licking their lips. I'll just show you the kind of deliveries that have gotten them out. And a majority of them, back of length, 8 to 10 meters, good length, 6 to 8 meters, 23.1%, full, 25.6%, but short, 20.5%. So that could be a weapon that Shaheen and Haris could use against these guys.
Yeah, and it's a length that's been working in India so far with the seamers, and I think Haris and Shaheen both will fancy a top order or an entire batting order for Bangladesh that hasn't been firing at all, essentially. And again, I think Shaheen will again try and pitch the ball up to see if there's any swing on offer, but I think they should be very quick to adapt to that, adding pressure kind of a length, just holding the length, trying to hit off stump. And cause pressure of not being able to score runs for Bangladesh. Bangladesh's top score in this World Cup is 250 something. They haven't scored big either. And also, if you look at the chart that you just showed, probably could be a reason of what Bangladesh play at home, the quality of surfaces that they play at home with, which are always spinning tracks, which is slow and low, which is probably now a high time of a reminder that you probably need to have different surfaces which almost can replicate conditions in the rest of the world, because you've seen them be in trouble against pace, and Pakistan are playing 2 quality pacers who will be in action very soon. So Bangladesh probably had to relook a lot of things back home in terms of the quality of surfaces that they also play to probably change those numbers.
Also highlights the importance of, like in India we have the A team tours. They're traveling all over the world, playing different conditions. If you don't have those conditions back here, at least get used to what you're getting outside.
Yeah, and but you look at that Bangladesh side, that's an experienced side. Yeah, apart from Tanzan at the top.
Yeah.
Everybody else they've played a lot of cricket. Litin Das, Shanto, Mushrafur Rafiq, Shakib Al Hassan, Mahmudullah. They've been around a long time. They've been all around the world. They don't need to know that this is what the surface is going to be like. They just, for some reason, haven't played the short ball that well, or the back of the length ball that well. And it's something I'm sure Pakistan will look to exploit. But for them to try and say about this, they're not used to the surfaces. These guys are experienced. You would have, if Bangladesh were in a position that they're in because they haven't been able to get wickets, which they haven't, I'd have said fair enough. But they would have been scoring runs.
Yeah.
For me, for the runs not to fire, they're experienced players. There's something not quite right in that Bangladesh dressing room.
Urooj, finally, where do you see this one going? Tough to call or easy to call?
Again, for me, impact with the ball up front and Shaheen Shah Afridi again will be key. Sri Lanka are playing 3, Bangladesh obviously play 3 left-handers in their top 6, so the 2 off-spinners do come into play. I think Pakistan will have a lot of confidence coming from what South Africa's game was, with the outside noise almost spurring them on even more. I think they can restrict Bangladesh to anything below 240. Pakistan should fancy this chase.
Steve, Pakistan?
Yeah, Pakistan for me. I came here today thinking this game could go all the way down to the wire. 50 could be a close game against 2 sides who are really struggling. You normally get a game that goes 50 overs each side. Or we might get a game which lasts 60 overs maximum because one of them has a monumental blow-up and gets bowled out for 120. I think it might be the latter. And Bangladesh batting first. If Pakistan get the ball in the right area early on and take power play wickets, I think this could be a long day for Bangladesh.
It's all on the table. Steve, Urooj, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And before we say goodbye, let me just remind you, if you haven't downloaded the ESPN Cricket Info mobile app, do download it. It's pretty easy, and you can, of course, follow the game. And you get ball-by-ball commentary, Hindi, English, and Tamil as well. You can follow us on our various social media handles. We, of course, will be coming your way after this Bangladesh innings comes to an end. Thank you so much for watching. Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket Info Matchday.
Stunning looks. then swift.